Welcome, everyone. I am Chris Gore. This is Film Threat on a Friday. It's our Friday Film Threat Livecast. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of different movies. Alan is paying attention in the background. He's about to lower the music. Or somebody is going to lower the music. Alan is going to lower the music. But let me tell you, a little lower. Here are the movies we're going to talk about today. We're talking about The Exorcist Believer. We're going to talk about She Came to Me, a new film with Peter Dinklage, plus The Royal Hotel, a little indie movie we're going to discuss. Alan has seen a movie called Foe, but he has not seen Dix the Musical. Alan, I promise by next week, we'll have seen Dix. In addition, we're going to talk to Desperation Road director Nadine Crocker is going to be on the show. And let's check Jigsaw's email. Lots to talk about. Loads of fun. Buckle up, folks. Film Threat on a Friday. I'm still pre-coffee, but I'm getting there. Let's get things going. Alan, what are you, first of all, what? Okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
I think that's just a little helpful advice. Anytime that's helpful advice.
Alan. I need to change my laugh. I think
Change your laugh.
I know it's got that evil.
It does sound somewhat evil. It does sound a little bit evil. Yeah. Cool. So we both saw movies last night. Alan texts me, should I see this movie or Exorcist Believer? I said, you have to see Exorcist Believer.
And I did.
You have to see it. So don't talk about it yet. We have a bunch of other stuff to discuss. Of course, Ahsoka wrapped up earlier this week on Tuesday. They had the season finale, and I love the internet. You know, the internet is a double-edged sword. There are things about the internet that are like, oh, that's so frustrating. I can't believe people treat each other like this on the internet. No one would treat each other like this, if they were face to face. But what I really love about the internet is I love memes. I love memes, and I love when people, I love when people will take something and do something creative with it. That's the internet. Alan, have you seen this thing, the 1980s Ahsoka television intro?
I have not. No.
All right. Well, look, we're gonna play it because I think it's really fun. And I almost think that if you recut the entire show into a movie, so you took Ahsoka, you cut it into a movie in this style, it would be amazing. I'm going to share a screen here. It's about, I don't know, how long is this? This video is just, it's like, it's like 2 minutes. I don't know if we should play the whole thing, but if we get hit for it copyright, we'll just clip it out of the show. This is the advantage of one, showing up to the show early for a live stream. You get to see videos that, you may or may not get to see. And secondly, you get to see stuff that invariably we unfortunately have to cut because of copyright stuff. I'm going to put on my headphones to listen to this. but we're gonna go through it. Let me share a screen here. This is a 1980s. If Ahsoka was a TV series in the 1980s, that's what we're about to see. And I know you haven't seen this. I've watched this like 3 times.
Okay, I've not seen it.
Okay, so
You really got to get to it though. Yeah.
Okay, we got to get through it. But like, look, you got to tell me though if there's any audio problems. We're gonna start. Ready? Here we go.
Ahsoka Tano, mystical Jedi warrior.
Okay, is it okay?
Yes, it's echoing. You're gonna need to mute your mic.
All right, I'm gonna mute myself, and then we're just gonna watch this, and I want to hear your live reaction. Here we go.
Ahsoka Tano, mystical Jedi warrior, trained to be a child soldier by the Master of Evil. She must learn to walk her own path while maintaining order in the galaxy.
Kind of like Quantum Leap 18.
Ahsoka, a Jedi who fights against the forces of darkness using her twin lightsabers and incredible never-before-seen abilities. Water breathing, whale song, and quick change. Joined by a ragtag band of friends, they journey into the unknown. Sabine, Mandalorian warrior, explosives expert, hopeless Jedi, street artist. Hera, a pilot with the heart of a pilot, who is always dressed to pilot. And Hu Yang, Ahsoka's faithful servant, a 25,000-year-old robot that possesses more knowledge and experience than any other living being in the entire galaxy. Possibly the most valuable relic in all of existence. He is now responsible for ship maintenance. With the threat of a new Star War looming over them, they wrestle against the intangible genius of Grand Admiral Thrawn and his supernatural minions. It's a race to save one of the last Jedis, as one of the last Jedis is hunted by the last remnants of the Jedis. They must learn to put aside their differences, reconcile with their pasts, and risk it all to find a long-lost ally who may or may not be able to help them. But hope always remains in Ahsoka.
They're just pulling the worst clip from the show.
All right, so what did you think? What did you think, Alan?
That was great. Okay,
sorry,
it's too long for one thing, but it was great.
Too long, but that was super fun. I first of all, I love Oral Knots, which is the channel where that's from. So, congrats.
So what they should have done was they should have done that, but for Rebels, and then played it before this, so we have a clue.
They should have done a Rebels, like, like, I mean, we've talked about this, so we don't need to talk about this to death now. But like, the thing that we discussed was like, they needed to show what happened and do it in live action.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they could have done it even in the first episode with either flashbacks or a preamble that told you stuff. I learned more in that or that little Oral Knots like intro. And by the way, I'll put the link to the video in the description of this live stream so you guys can check it out later. I have a lot of playlists that I save on my personal YouTube where I'll just take like, rare Star Wars or weird Star Wars, Star Trek. I've got like all these. I'm super anal when it comes to my
Your
YouTube playlist.
Your what?
Well, stop it, Alan. I know you're trying to set me up. What can you say? But let's see. Okay, we launched right into it. Let's get to our comments here. Who's here today? Alan's daughter is live streaming Cyberpunk right now instead of working, says Imperfect. Are you kidding me?
I mean,
you're kidding.
We spent all that money on medical school, on X-ray school. Sorry, and she's playing video.
Hi, Dad. I miss you.
I mean, well, at least she misses you. So there you go. Lord Thoth says, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, sign up as a member, and join us on Discord. That's right. You can join us on Discord. Imperfect says, I hope we check Chris's Saw X email today. That we're about to do this. Aaron Taylor says, I'm interested in Alan's take, as I've heard Believer is quite demeaning of Southern religious folk. We're going to get into it.
Yes, we will get there.
We're probably going to review one of our other indie movies before we get to it. We'll get to it. Now show the trailer for the Triple X parody, says Killick69. Axel Braun, I'm told, has retired, which is really, unfortunate. JTPRX says Super Anal Chris. That's my Avengers name. And Con Wolf says that commercial was better than the show. Yeah, I that's the thing. I'm watching it going like, if they had literally done it in that style, like, like the style of Andor was effectively Les Miserables, right? And they really hit that tone. If they did a show like, like they made Return of the Jedi and they're like, we're going to make more Star Wars shows in the 80s, it perfectly captured that like cheesiness. And the thing is this, a lot of things that happen in Ahsoka are kind of dumb. Mm-hmm. So it would actually work if that were the tone of the show. Like, we're going to make like an 80s action show like the A-Team, but it'll be the A-Team in space, and it'll be Ahsoka and her friends, Ahsoka, Sabine, and her friends, like an A-Team in space. That kind of would have been fun if they'd gone with that tone and kind of been a little self-aware that it's a bit stupid. I would have bought it.
Yeah. But, I mean, what I liked about the music in that, the 80s music, was when they do the, shifting around in the spaceship, it reminds me of old Star Trek.
Yeah. So all right, thanks. I just like to share stuff. Like, I am obsessed with finding like weird, cool videos online, and I like to share them sometime. I think when we launch our Monday show, after we hit 100,000 subscribers, we're going to start a third live stream every week. That's just going to be a fun, chill stream. Hanging out, watching weird videos, talking about new movie trailers. We'll discuss the box office. It's going to be Monday Movie Talk, coming on Mondays. I think it's going to be, that's one of the names of the show that we're talking about. So, all right. And now it's time to pivot. We're going to pivot very quickly, Alan. Let's check Jigsaw's email. Now, I have to preface this. I need to preface this first with here's the deal. I saw X, and I literally ripped from my pocket, a piece of paper, and I wrote down the email that I saw, okay? And this is what I wrote. Can you see this at all? Can you see all that?
Yeah.
I wrote down two things. I wrote down John Kramer's email, which I'll tell you is kramerjohn944@gmail.com. I also wrote down the name of the website that's in the movie, called the PedersenProject.net. And it's Pedersen, PEDERSEN project.net. Now, I went to the PedersenProject.net. It doesn't exist. It actually doesn't exist. But KramerJohn944 is what I wrote down. That is incorrect. The correct email address is KramerJohn994. However, can I just say, a significant number of people made the exact same mistake that I did. Exact same mistake. So here's what I did. I emailed KramerJohn994@gmail.com and got a bounce back with a phone number. I put that on my profile. Let me share. Let's see what I can share here. I don't want to show you I don't want to show you anyone's email address. So what I'm going to do is I am going to blow up the email to comically large. One, so you can see it. And two, I don't want to reveal any personal email addresses of anyone on screen. So if I blow it up big enough, you won't be able to see them, but you'll be able to read what I wrote. So now I'm going to share it. And apparently I've gotten added to some, already gotten added to some spam lists here, which is weird. So that's weird. But let's go for it. Okay. So I haven't checked the email in a couple of days. All right. So here we are. Let's check Jigsaw's email. Present here, share screen. Here we go. Now, what I did is I put a bounce back. What is the bounce back? I'll show you what the bounce back is. And Alan, this is where the bounce backs basically says, out of the country, please read hi. Hello. Thank you for reaching out. I will be traveling out of the country for the next few days, so I may be slow to respond to any messages. If this is an emergency, please give me a call at 310-564-8144. Best, John Kramer, civil engineer, puzzle enthusiast. Alan, I want you to take out your phone right now.
Okay.
Put it on speaker. I want you to hold it very close to the microphone, and I want you to call the number 310-564-8144.
Okay, hold on. I can actually pump it through directly into my my mic.
So call it, and I want everyone to hear this message. And by the way, if you look at my sent folder, I have sent. Can you see it all right? I have sent a whole. So I've sent a bunch of messages to people. Here's some of the people I've sent messages to. I'm just scrolling down a whole bunch. I'm not going to reveal their exact.
By the way, I need
email.
that phone number again.
310.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's and I set this as my outgoing message. So if you email kramerjohn944@gmail.com, you're going to get this vacation message. 310-564-8164. I'm actually going to change our.
Let me make sure I'm connected to.
Just put it on speaker and hold it up to your mic. We don't need to get like super complicated. All right.
Bluetooth connected.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So
I am connected. All right, here I'm playing it. Okay. Hold on. Let me do it over.
Oh my God! Am I gonna have to play the music? The.
No, I got it.
Okay, cool. All right. I think a bunch of people have already called in the time that you've talked about calling it. A bunch of people have already.
Playing it now. Do you hear it?
No, I don't hear it.
Okay, here. Let me start it over. God.
Oh my God, Alan! It's on screen.
Thank you for reaching out. A very brave thing to do. I hear that you're looking for a restart, a cleanse. But I must ask, are you sure this is the right path for you? What you are about to experience will truly put you to the test, a test unlike any other that you've faced before. If you still like to receive, simply text.
Dude, louder, dude. I can barely.
I
hear
can't.
it.
It's
For your first challenge.
okay.
All right. Well, look.
If you had warned me last night that I need to hook my phone up, I would have done something.
That would involve planning. I mean, we already have a lot of. I just decided to do this.
You have a phone. You could have done this.
You've got the email. You've got the phone number. Call it yourself. But let's take a look at like some of the other. Basically, all I've been doing is it's an outgoing message. But we've got people saying, "Greetings, Mr. Kramer. Do you want to play a game? Good one," says Louis Vuitton. And hello, John. Look at this. These are some of the You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game. Reply or not. The choice is yours. I'm such a big fan of your work, and I'm from the Philippines. God bless you and Amanda.
No.
Here's another one from Louis Vuitton. Hey, John. I just want to say, very good showing. Just saw X. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for the memories all these years. And Eileen F says, John, thank you for the best Saw movie yet. Heart emoji. Do you want to play a game now? Well, there you go. And then another greetings. Hello, Mr. Kramer. There you go. Dan Mainwaring says, John, how are you feeling? I have a special remedy to cure you. So there you go. It's just a bunch of messages. Hi, just wanted to say hello, sent from my iPhone. So by the way, even though I got the email address wrong by one letter, or excuse me, by one character, which is, I got the number off. Apparently a lot of other people wrote it down that way. Here's my chicken scratches like during the movie itself. Not great. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. I did my best, but that is not the correct one, but that is the correct phone number to check out Jigsaw's email. So apparently a lot of people also made the same mistake that I did, but that was I love that. I love when a movie uses real phone numbers and real email addresses and then uses it as a part of, uses as a part of the marketing. I think it's great. Couple quick comments here. Imagine Alan dressed as an 80s ninja. He would be so out of shape. I disagree. I've hugged Alan. He's like a girder.
Also, I'm Chinese. I'm not Japanese. So
yeah. He's built like
white people.
Yeah. He's built like a girder. He's very much in shape. And
I'm built like Sammo Hung.
And from Rumble, Conwolf says, be careful about doxing serial killers. Wouldn't want to be on their bad side. And Chris is the king prankster, says Fletcher Williams. I suck at games channel. Good to hear from you, Fletcher. We were talking about you last night. I was hanging out with Paulie from Latino Slant. So there you are. Anyways, check it out for yourself. I gave you the email address. I gave you the phone number. It's now it's all up to you. But let's pivot, and we're going to talk about the Royal Hotel. Before we get to Exorcist Believer. Here we go. And I have seen the Royal Hotel. Alan has not seen the Royal Hotel. That's perfectly fine. Sometimes we get a week where there's a lot of movies coming out, and what we like to do is kind of like we do our best and kind of divide and conquer. So sometimes Alan will go see a movie I wasn't able to see, and vice versa. And there you go. So the Royal Hotel is about two young women having the time of their lives in Australia. They're off partying on a boat, and they're a little low on funds. So what do? Hannah and her friend Liv sign up for a program where they can travel and work. It's sort of a work travel thing where you can continue your walkabout adventures on vacation while you also work and earn money. So they in Australia, they're backpacking and they go to this really remote town. It's a mining town where a bunch of blue collar workers go to this local bar. The local bar is owned by a guy named Billy, who is a complete alcoholic, played unbelievably in an unbelievable performance by Hugo Weaving, who I barely recognized. His signature voice. He changed his voice. I barely recognized him. I had to check on IMDb to confirm that this is in fact Hugo Weaving playing the character of Billy. This bar is beyond a dive bar, run down. There are two British girls who are kind of like they're handing off their shift to them. So the British girls have been there for several weeks, bartending there, and they love to party, getting up on the bar, dancing, hooking up with some of the miners, the locals, etc. But Hannah and Liv are a little bit more standoffish. Things get a little weird as it begins with what you would call microaggressions. One of the patrons orders a cider. What kind of cider? Dickinson cider. And that's the joke that Liv Liv is the victim of. But Liv is kind of goes with it, like, whatever, these are dumb dudes. I'm fine with it. It's fine. But her friend Hannah is really taking offense at all of this. She's obviously been a young woman who's been very sheltered. And I almost felt like for the first half of the movie, I'm like, Hannah, lighten up. These guys are they're just dumb guys at a dive bar. Fine. Smile through it. Take your tips and whatever. But things begin to cross a line, with many of the men getting a bit too handsy and a bit too abusive, both in language and physically. And then there becomes a choice. And Hannah, at a certain point, as we get to the third act, decides, I'm not taking this anymore. And it turns into, it pivots from like this fun vacation, things going wrong, to a suspense thriller. I really wasn't sold on this movie in the first half of the film. Just the character of Hannah, I just was like, oh man, she really is like overreacting to things. And then her friend Liv, Hannah's played by Julia Garner, Jessica Henwick. Jessica Henwick plays Liv. I'm like, lighten up. But then when things begin to cross a line and actual they're in physical danger for their lives, that's when I grew to actually come more to Hannah's side of things. Really great performances. Hugo Weaving, like I said, he disappeared into this role. I didn't even know it was him. And this is a solid thriller. The good thing about this movie, 90 minutes, you're in and out. I actually really enjoyed it. And I'm glad it was like a good 90 minutes. If this thing had dragged on, and the third act, what I love about the third act, they get to the part where basically, and I'm not going to get into any spoilers. Obviously, basically you see that like Hannah's like, I'm not taking it anymore. And then things begin to go awry. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but they resolve it quickly in a realistic way, because these women are not stronger than the men. They're just not. These are hardened blue collar workers, work at a local mine. They come to the bar exhausted, just looking to like, chill and get plastered. And you see all the dynamics happening behind the scenes of the bar. There's a woman named Carol, played by Ursula Jovich, who's the cook, kind of also like an assistant manager of the place. And she kind of helps them out, or she sees how things are going south. Really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this film. I was surprised. Is it the greatest thing ever? No, it's a good, solid indie movie that is a solid thriller that'll get you in and out for 90 minutes. Not going to change the world. I'd rate it somewhere between a 6 and a 7. But the one thing is, I was entertained. A lot of people might say that, there's sort of two ways to look at it. This is why I like the character of Hannah. You can say, oh my God, she's being attacked by all these microaggressions, but they balance it with her friend Liv, who's just like, whatever, she's the one that's just like, she represents the other side that would be like, just laugh it off, whatever, these guys are stupid. And she even kind of hooks up with some of the guys, and she's like, I know they're dumb, but I'm on vacation and I want to hook up with dudes. I'm young. This is what you do when you're in your 20s. You travel, you hook up with random men, have your fun, get in, get out, and you're out of there. So it kind of represents kind of two sides. And Hannah's like the girlfriend that's like, no, we're leaving the bar. This has gone too far. She's what some would describe as the not fun friend. I actually ended up enjoying the film. The first half, I was very skeptical, and I did not like the trailer for this movie. I thought the trailer was like, ugh. I was groaning as I was watching it. I think they're trying to appeal to a certain type of audience, but in the end, I ended up really enjoying it. So there you go. Solid thriller, mystery, suspense film that is more enjoyable than expected.
That my impression was from watching the trailer is that this movie drags in the first and second act.
It actually didn't. It didn't drag because events just happened really quickly.
Okay, so
it didn't drag, but they drag out. Like, it starts with the dumb Dickens cider, which is actually, that joke is actually in the trailer. So what kind of cider do you want? Dickens? And then she says Dickens cider, and then she repeats it. It's Liv that repeats it, and she doesn't get the joke until like, oh, Dickens cider. It's a harmless joke. I will say this: I go to a dive bar, the bar, the 35er in Pasadena, and I know the waiters and waitresses there. Shout out to Charisse Merce, Freddie, and the whole gang and the bouncers. I know the bouncers at the 35er. No one at that bar, even though it is like a blue collar bar, no one at that bar would make a joke like that to any of the women that worked at the 35er. And I have seen instances at the 35er at my local bar where someone has tried to be rude to one of the waitresses, and everyone around, every man around is like, it's very protective and like, you're not going to act that way at this bar because, I don't know. It's like a weird male, like thing that like you.
It's why Americans are better than Australians. Really,
well, no. I think that this is a certain type. Like you can't stereotype and say every bar is like this, and I can't say every bar is like the 35er. But I've seen instances where people look like they may have been crossing a line, and you don't even need the bouncers. Everyone at the bar. I saw a guy whose credit card got declined at the 35er, and he threw like a drink at this woman, and everyone in the bar got up and was like, "You are not going to do that. Get the hell out of here." You got kicked out. But yeah, no, it's and there are other men. There are good men in this movie that do stand up when things go south. I'm just saying, I didn't expect to enjoy this film. I enjoyed it, and it's worth seeing. It's a solid, and the fact that it's like 91 minutes or something with credits, 92 minutes with credits is there you go, is very good. So let's check out the comments here. Shrimps are on Barbies, says Aaron Taylor, who's a member. Thank you. That is awesome. Super chat here from Happy Sanjo for 5. Thanks for being so kind at Halloween 45. Meant a lot, man. So many YouTubers I met, was a letdown moment. You're a kind and personable brother. Liked the video. Oh, thanks.
He must have met you in the morning.
Yes. So this is one of our. Thank you for the super chat. I met this guy at Halloween 45. He goes, me and my brother, we watch your show. I said, oh, he goes, can I get a selfie? I said, sure. I said, let's do a video to send to your brother. And then I was like, why aren't you here? Why aren't you having fun? We're having fun. We're hanging out. So it was great. So, hey, thank you for that. I appreciate the super chat. That's great. I love meeting people. I love meeting people who like what I do. And I try to be kind to everybody. I can't say that, like, sometimes, I mean, I can be a curmudgeon. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to drink. But if someone just asks me something for a selfie, who cares? Like, I don't know. I genuinely love people. So I am also there as a fan. So when I meet other fans that are a fan of the same things I'm a fan of, we're all there to nerd out. And I got to see PJ Souls and John Carpenter. It was so much fun. Thank you for that. That was great. And I'm sure I'll see you. I will be at Son of Monster Palooza in Burbank a week from today. Oh, and by the way, a week from today, I am trying to arrange an interview with someone that's going to blow your mind. Trying to make it happen live. I'll put in the private chat who it is.
Okay. But at Monster Palooza or
on our live stream next week. I'm trying to get this person to be on our live.
Oh yeah,
stream.
you CC'd me on that email.
Okay, good. So
yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Fingers crossed if this happens. Big guest a week from today, live on the show. Which, if we don't do it live, we'll actually pre-record it.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, I'll have you do it, Alan. But
I will say this person just this person is the last person I met. I talked to personally before lockdown.
Well, you can remind this person of that. But thank you for that. That was awesome. Davina Duckworth, did they call for Amanda Hug and Kiss? No, but that's another good one. John Flara, this looks like a feminist version of Wake in Fright. Look, you can look at that. I just looked at it as a thriller. And the thing is, you have two women, Liv and Hannah, and they each Hannah is obviously, she's more susceptible to microaggressions or whatever. She's the one that basically is like, you're crossing lines. And Liv is like, I just want to party. So each woman kind of represents one side. So yeah, I'm sure that it's easy to argue that this is feminist. I thought it was also a good thriller in addition to being that. And whatever feminist, messaging is in the movie didn't bother me. I also felt the movie was realistic. They weren't sitting there like they're not girl bosses. All of these guys could beat the crap out of them, and they are very well aware that they're not going to girl boss any of these guys. They are big, buff minors. So there's none of this like it didn't feel false to me. So, and you can see for yourself. You may I respond probably less to things like that. Don't bother me as much. But
I will
it
say
definitely.
I was gonna say I will say the poster of the two of them. The two of them are featured prominently in the poster.
Yes.
And these kind of posters have made me think this movie went a different direction.
Yeah, the thing is this, I think the marketing is deceptive. It's more of a straight up thriller than it is a feminist film. And
it wasn't Ammonite, basically.
Yeah, I mean they look, they want to hook up with men. They're two straight women on traveling from America. They want to hook up with Australian dudes. They want to have fun, and Hannah and Liv want different things. So there you go. Alan Horkin says Henwick is actually pronounced Hennick. He's British via Hong Kong. Thank you, Alan.
And I will say she is the best thing in the Iron Fist series on Netflix.
Oh, well, there you go.
She plays Colleen.
Greasy Guido says, do you think this is a movie deserving to be in theaters as opposed to streaming? It's a good alternative to what's in theaters. I like little indie movies coming to theaters because it gives me something to watch instead of the Taylor Swift movie, which next week, we will not be able to review the Taylor Swift movie because it doesn't open until Friday. It doesn't open on Thursday. What we are going to review is the Monarch series from Apple TV Plus, which is the Monarch Legacy of Monsters. I will have seen the first 4 episodes. We're going to talk about Godzilla and the Monsterverse next week, a week from today. Alan and I got access to the first 4 episodes. So I know at least I'll be able to see it. From Rumble, Lord Shax, what type of audience were they trying to appeal to? Just people who like a generally good thriller. And the thing is this, I was comparing it to like dive bar experiences I've had. I felt like this was a little over the top.
I will say that, it would be great if we supported indie films that are shown in theaters. Therefore, they will show more indie films in theaters by doing that. And, I'm not saying go out and see bad ones just to do that. But, if a mildly good independent film hits your theater, take a risk and go see it.
Well, Zavin says any movie that tries to show words as violence is ideological trash, in my opinion. But look, people can be hurt by words, right? I mean, that's real.
Yeah, and you can comment on it too.
And
I think there's a level in which they do that.
People who are hurt by words and are overly sensitive are represented in the movie, as well as a woman who brushes it off and is like, whatever. So Hannah and Liv, their characters are kind of two sides of the same coin. And the movie didn't particularly try to push anything ideological, in my opinion. I don't think it did. It just like, it's not, and it felt very realistic. The women completely realize they are outmatched by the men. It's not trying to show some girl boss BS that is unrealistic. One of the women just says, no, I don't want to be treated this way. And I actually just want to leave. But it's not. And also, it helps to be open to seeing a film like this. I just looked at it as, it turned out to be a solid thriller when I had expected it to not be. So there you go. Imperfect says 99.9% of men will stand up for women instantly. That is a fact. And I've seen it in real life. And it does happen in this movie. Tom Siebert says a rare inversion of the never meet your heroes moment. Halloween. I was just at Halloween 45 as a fan, just like everyone else.
Yeah. And you haven't met me yet. So,
been watching Chris Gore since I was in high school. He always struck me as genuine. I have no doubt if I met CG in person, he'd be the same guy I've enjoyed hearing from for years. Where Aaron, that's true. And technically, we can all hang out at Award This. Tickets go on sale next week. I will announce it on Wednesday, and I will put a link to get tickets to Award This. I'll be sharing that link. So Alan and I will both be there. We have a comedian who will be hosting the event that I can't announce right now, but I will announce when I'm able to. And it's Sunday, December 10th at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California. Let's hang out. Let's hang out at the award show. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that for your kind words. And Film Threat says Anita Mandablo. What's Anita Mandablo? Oh, God dang it. I thought that meant something. Did you type that, Alan?
Yeah. I was hoping you'd pronounce it correctly, but
oh my God. Fear the Turtle 21 for 10. Thank you for that. Hit a Supernatural fan convention last weekend for my first ever con. Got photos with Jensen Ackles, Jared Padalecki, Misha Collins, and more. Had a blast and curious what's y'all favorite fan con is. I think Dallas Fan Expo is great. I've been to it. Dragon Con is probably my favorite con for fun. San Diego Comic-Con is for me more work and networking. And LA Comic-Con is coming up December. I believe it's December 1st through the 3rd. We have, oh, by the way, we have 3 panels there at LA Comic-Con.
Oh, do we? Are they all on the same day at least? Or,
No, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. I might not be able to do the 1 on Sunday, so you're going to do that one.
Oh, thanks.
It's our indie filmmaker survival guide. I'll probably do all 3 panels, but I just don't want to do 3 in a day. So I've arranged it, and guess what? Some very big special guests are going to be on that panel. Some
meetup worthy guests, maybe.
Meetup worthy guests are going to be on that panel. That's all I got to say. So there you are. But it's time for us to pivot. Let's pivot. We're going to talk about something else. Wait, where's the thing? Just give me a minute, folks. I appreciate your patience as I go through this, which is always weird for me. So here we go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about The Exorcist Believer. Alan, last night you texted me and said, should I go see it? And I said, you should definitely go see it. So we can.
Yeah, I was going to see the Royal Hotel, by the way, last night.
That's okay. We just discussed it. The Exorcist Believer. Alan, tell us the story of the film. This is by the way, I should point out, this is a direct follow-up to The Exorcist. It directly ties in.
But 40 years later.
Right. 40 years later, the character of Reagan is mentioned. I won't mention, there's something spoilery that happens in the end. And there is a character that directly connects to a character that directly connects to the original Exorcist. Of course, who am I talking about? Ellen Burstyn. She plays Chris McNeil. So Ellen Burstyn is in the film. She's more of a cameo role. She has a couple scenes in the movie, but she plays a significant part in the film. Alan, tell us the story of The Exorcist Believer.
Okay, the story of Exorcist Believer stars Leslie Odom Jr. as Victor. He's doing a photography assignment, I believe, in the Caribbean somewhere with his wife. She is pregnant, and horrible disaster happens, and the wife is killed in basically an earthquake, killed in a building crash, but they're able to save the baby, and that baby being what's her name? Angela. No, is that right? Yeah, Angela.
Yes.
And so shoot 10 years later or 15 years later, she's a teenager in high school. They're living in small town America. And Angela, she has kind of a good slash, typical teen father kind of relationship. He's a little overprotective. But on this particular day, Angela befriends another classmate, Catherine, and after school they decide to go off into the woods together and play some dangerous spiritual games. Not quite the Ouija board, maybe a little bit worse. And the two go off in the woods, do that, and they wind up missing. They can't find them. Victor meets up with Catherine's parents, Miranda and Tony, uh, and they're looking for him, and they happen to be found 3 days later, but they are possessed by demons. And Catherine's family, very religious Southern family, uh, they're taking that kind of approach with how to deal with their potentially demon possessed daughter. Victor, on the other hand, it's questionable whether he's a believer or not. He may be an atheist, but certainly he's agnostic. And so spirits are at play here, and ultimately they figure out, yes, they are demon possessed, and they must call in the experts to exorcise those demons. How's that?
That's a good description. I think the interesting thing about the film is the way that they disappear for 3 days and then they come back, and something is off about these two girls, and they end up they kind of sync. They're in physical sync.
Yeah,
right?
their heartbeats.
Their heartbeats are in sync. Their sort of body rhythms are in sync, and they are both possessed by the devil. Who knows? Are you a believer? Do you believe in the devil?
So one thing I should point out is you were very insistent that I see this movie.
Yes.
And I've realized why, because the first Exorcist is basically, it's a Catholic tale.
Yes.
And here it's very much a Protestant evangelical tale, or Southern Baptist kind of thing. And so that's kind of more in my wheelhouse than Catholicism.
Well, what I'm surprised about with this, and of course, obviously it's leading up to, they've tried everything to calm these girls. They've looked at them medically. They're starting to, one of them has like an upside down cross across her forehead.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in the background.
Carved in. You can see it actually. You can see it in the, in the pictures from the film. I forget the name of Catherine is the name of the character. So it's Catherine and Angela are the two girls. You meet their families. So at first there's like this 3 days of they're looking for them, and they just turn up, but they don't think they've been gone for 3 days. They just think time has just been deleted. They're like, oh, we're coming back. They didn't realize what happened. They're actually doing this seance to try to get Angela to talk to her mother.
It's an exorcism. It wouldn't be a seance.
Yeah, seance exorcism. They're basically trying to connect with Angela's mother, who died, when Angela gave birth, died in this earthquake in Haiti. And so it's building up to the big event, which is they're going to exorcise the two girls. Like, they've tried everything and nobody believes it. They're not possessed. And they even go to their local church to try to get someone to approve an exorcism, because it's a procedure that's not done very often, and they do not approve it. But one of the priests shows up and kind of like, I just feel like I have to be here, even though I don't have approval from my church.
Let me just correct that a bit. Because of the events of the first movie, that's when Ellen Burstyn's character comes in, and that's where the Catholic Church gets involved, and the Catholic Church won't sanction the exorcism. The pastor of Catherine's parents, their church, they did sanction it, and their pastor is a part of the exorcism.
Yeah. So the whole point of this thing, and obviously they go through the process of the exorcism, and then there is a conclusion that I won't talk about. There is something that's a spoiler that happens at the very end of the movie regarding the two girls. And, look, it's an Exorcist movie. It's not going to be a happy ending. Let's just say that. We're not going to get into spoilers in that at the very end of the film, but I do want to talk about the third act a bit, because this is where things go wrong. Look, all I care about is this film scary. And I thought that the scares were cheap. I thought the movie dragged. I thought it was terribly edited, in particular in the beginning where things drag. Like Tanner, who's the father of Angela, they have this sort of playful relationship, and he's maybe a little overly protective of his daughter because of how his wife met her end. right? She was pregnant. They were in love. He's a photographer. She died. And so he's maybe a little overly protective of Angela. And they show that relationship so much, it's kind of boring. Like, is this some Lifetime movie? So I thought the movie was terribly edited. The scares are cheap. And not only that, the scares are not original. There are scares in the original Exorcist that to this day I think about. You know, Reagan like vomiting up pea soup effectively, her head twisting around 360. You know, some of the shocking things that Reagan says, the anti-religious things, basically trying to bait the priest, moments, use of sound. The original Exorcist is, if you make a list of the scariest horror films of all time, Exorcist will be on that list. It just will be. For me, it's on the list along with John Carpenter's The Thing, among other movies, but it's on a list. It's on a list, the top 10, maybe top 25 horror films of all time, and the scariest ones. The Exorcist is on that list. The Exorcist Believer should have been a streaming movie. I thought from the editing to the casting and performances to the cliche and the story, the fact that so many talented people, I believe talented people, are making this film. David Gordon Green, you know, I enjoyed his Halloween films. They're flawed, but I enjoyed them. I feel like he better understood what made a good Halloween movie. He does not understand this. And I think the reason that the original Exorcist was so powerful is because it leaned so hard into religion. And this, you have all these skeptics, oh, I don't believe it or whatever. And sort of at the last minute, they bring in, I'm not making this up, it's sort of a joke. They bring in all these different types of religious people. You've got this woman from Haiti who's got like the voodoo religion. You've got the priest. You've got you've got the woman who's pastor, the nurse. The next door neighbor who's a nurse who's read the Bible, who was going to be a nun. They literally bring in, and it seems like a joke when I say this out loud, but I'm going to tell you, like the Avengers of exorcism people. So it's not just one priest, it's a bunch of them trying to help. And the woman who's got the voodoo, she's doing her own thing with fire and this, and she's doing spells. The priest is reading other stuff. Then the nun comes in. She was going to be a nun, but she became a nurse, but she's very well educated in religion. So it's like they bring all these people in to try to solve this problem. And ultimately the girls are just going crazy, right? Like they float a little bit. And it's like, I don't understand. If the devil has a plan, what's the plan?
You're just spoiling this movie.
No, I'm not spoiling the end of the movie. I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're not spoiling the ending. You're only spoiling the third act.
The beginning of the third act, Alan. I'm trying to, first of all,
you get accused all the time of spoiling this movie. You're doing it right now.
Jason Blum, David Gordon Green, talented people, and with, to me, a classic horror film that everyone, if you haven't seen it, you're aware of it. This is not just, it's the worst horror movie of the year, and it may also be one of the worst films of the year. Absolutely terrible. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 20%. It is a 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb. Google users currently 76%. I don't believe that. I don't think enough people have seen it yet. I thought this movie was awful. I was waiting for at least something original. The scares in this are all things we've seen before in other movies, with the exception of there's a shocking death, and I'm not going to ruin it, Alan. It was awful. I despised this film. I was angry on behalf of William Friedkin, who made one of the greatest iconic horror films of all time, where if you just hear the music, you know what it is. You hear that chilling music, but they were trying to throw it in, and also the diversity. They're trying to be diverse. You couldn't just have one possessed girl. You have to have two possessed girls. 2 possessed girls for diversity, and it was dumb. It was
Look,
dumb.
I'll defend the diversity. At least they didn't
Defend
call
it.
it. At least they didn't call it out, and at least they didn't make it about oppression and racism.
It doesn't.
They were just a black family living in a white community. That's all it was, and it was never mentioned that way.
I don't have a problem with it. It just seems really obvious.
Yeah.
It seems stupidly obvious, especially if you know the end. I'm not going to talk
But
about
it would have been worse if they, if they experienced racism walking down the street of their neighborhood, or going into a bar and getting odd looks. But that didn't happen. They interacted with with the white Christian family, and it was just fine. They just wanted to save their children. So I'll give the pass on diversity here, because this is. Yeah.
At least they didn't but they really pointed it out. Like the opening of the movie, which goes on way too long, where they show you Haiti, you show he's a photographer, they're in love, she's pregnant, Haiti, earthquake. That dragged forever. And then his relationship with his daughter, blah, blah, blah. I mean, so much dead time, but also ultimately, I actually don't even care about that. It should be scary. It's not scary. It's not scary and chilling, where I remember as a kid seeing films like The Exorcist, which I saw way too young, right? I probably saw Exorcist when I was a teenager, way too young to see it. It's hard R film. And I remember that movie disturbed the hell out of me mainly because of the religious angle. And they didn't lean into religion as much as probably they should have, because they realized general society now is probably not as religious as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to go a different direction. So they bring in the Avengers of Exorcist at the end, and it's so stupid. It's so I just every time and I wanted to give the movie a chance. I really wanted to enjoy this film, and I cannot believe how much I disliked it. We'll get to the comments, Alan. We're not at
No, but you mentioned the Avengers of
I know.
John Manlang says,
I want to read it. I want to read it.
All right.
I love John Manlang. All right.
Okay.
I want you to tell. I hated this movie. 1 out of 10 at best. One of the worst films of the year, and the worst horror movie of the year, bar none. Terrible. Don't waste your time or money. One of our friends from our movie meetup group, I'm going to call him out, AJ, walked out of the movie with 10 minutes to go. He was bored. He thought it was terrible. He was more excited about dollar beers at Sushi Stop than finishing The Exorcist Believer. Alan, what did you think of it? What is your opinion?
I've yet to see the first one, and because quite frankly, the trailers when I was a kid scared me, and everything everyone's told me about it is scary, and I've just not seen it. I was not scared at all in this movie.
Yes,
there's just, I'm just, there was at no point that I was even remotely frightened. It's got all the tropes of, jump scares that lead to nothing. You would think at some point, if you're going to do a jump scare, one of them has to hit, but it doesn't. There are things I appreciated about it. I mean, I did like the Protestant evangelical angle to it. That's one thing. The other thing was there's a discussion at the movie closes with a discussion between the nurse, Anne, played by Ann Dowd, and Victor, talking about why bad things happen to good people. And it was like, yeah, that's pretty much what I think about when it comes to that big question of why does God allow bad things to happen to his people. And I thought that was a nice theologically sound discussion there. But the rest of the movie, boring, bland, and not scary.
Wow. So you went into it not having I've seen The Exorcist several times.
Yeah.
And they just
and I'll tell you this, seeing the trailers, I knew it wasn't going to be scary.
It just felt like they were almost trying to get a PG-13. Like they wanted young girls to go see this film. But wow, it was such a disappointment. I can't believe people like this movie. I've heard a couple people that like it, some critics, and I think, wow, try to convince me, because I love one of the things I love diversity of opinion. And I, in particular, like to talk to people who like can change my mind. But there's no way you're going to change my mind on this. I thought it was, I just thought it was such a colossal disappointment. So bad. Don't waste your time. They made a streaming movie. Someone asked earlier if the Royal Hotel is a streaming movie. No, I mean, it's like a solid indie that you could go to the theater and really enjoy. But Exorcist Believer should have gone direct to streaming, because you wouldn't have been disappointed if it was streaming, because your expectations are so low already. And it bothers me because Jason Blum through Blumhouse has built up one of the great companies putting out horror today. Jason Blum, I believe, understands horror, and he has done so many good, he's resurrected horror franchises. He's created new ones with Megan. I really love a lot. I'll see anything Blumhouse.
I know. You love Truth or Dare.
Well, but I didn't like that one. Okay, yes, I don't have that.
He's hit and miss. I think the point is he's hit and miss, but more.
Yeah, but he's more hit than miss. I would say percentage wise, he's more hit than miss. But this is a huge miss, huge colossal disappointment. Cannot recommend it. Yeah. Go see the original Exorcist if you haven't seen it, like Alan. And there you go. I would rate it a 1 out of 10. Alan, if you had to give it a rating.
3. I think I liked it twice as much as you did. The one of the reasons you had me watch this, I do believe, is because of the more Protestant angle to it.
Yes, the religious.
And when it, but my experience with exorcisms and things like that, I walked out of it just knowing this is just fiction. There's not I shouldn't say there's not a lot of truth behind it, but my understanding of exorcisms and demon possession is not this. And so, but at some point you just take it for what it is. They're just trying to make a demon possession movie, and that's what it is.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go to our comments and questions here. We've got a lot in the chat. Sorry, it's people message me during the show. So it happens. What can I say? Your comments and questions, starting with a couple super chats, and we appreciate that. Bush and Ryu Cat for 5 is a member. Chris Allen, I don't know if you mentioned New York Comic-Con. Please come to our show and I'll treat you to the best Greek Gyro new Godzilla in November. I think it's coming December 1st, but probably in late November.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
I have attended New York Comic-Con in the past. I've really enjoyed it. I am not able to make it this year. I did have press passes. I am not traveling as much as I used to, but I will be at LA Comic-Con on December 1st through the 3rd, and I'm going to Grand Rapids Comic-Con. I think I made an announcement. Grand Rapids Comic-Con in Michigan. I am going there. Why? Because, well, I can visit family. So check it out. It's November 3rd through the 5th. I will be there that weekend. I will be doing signings of Attack of the Dock, because we will have our, I think they're coming in next week, as early as next week. Hey. We're getting new copies of Attack of the Dock. So if you have pre-ordered it, you'll receive it, or visit me at Grand Rapids Comic-Con, save the date, go to grcomiccon.com. I will be there. I'll be on panels. I'll be signing Blu-rays. I'll be doing giveaways for people, and I'll just be hanging out. I might even do a video that you can send your family of us hanging out. So look for me there. I have a lot of friends in Michigan, so I'm going to extend my stay. So Alan, I'll probably be in Michigan the week after that.
Okay.
And visiting family. So there you go. Grand Rapids Comic-Con. Look for me there. I'll put an announcement in the community tab, and I'll put something also in our Discord. So check it out, November 3rd through the 23rd, grcomiccon.com. But New York Comic-Con is something I've also really enjoyed in the past. So thank you, Bush and Ryu Cat. More super chats here. We'll get to your comments. And Bush and Ryu Cat goes on to say, for 5, to Donald of Horror, Pleasance and Sutherland. Yes, one in Halloween, one in 79 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Both were in The Eagle Has Landed. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's what this was missing, was an actor of gravitas. So
That's exactly what I was going to say. It needed maybe they wanted it to be Ellen Burstyn, but what happens to her in the movie, which I didn't spoil, something happens to
but
her
you're
in the
about to
film,
now.
and it's so dumb, and it's not even scary. It's almost ridiculous. But yeah, Donald Sutherland, like the 79 Invasion of the Body Snatchers is horrifying. It's horrifying, and it's so good.
So they should have gotten
you.
Mel Gibson to be in this one.
Right. MK Solid 82 for $4.99. If you want a true companion to The Exorcist, then The Exorcism of Emily Rose is probably the best. Such a well-crafted movie with great performances. And Solomon Thornton has been a member for 10 months. Solomon, thank you so much. Chris Allen, thanks for all the film knowledge.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Solomon Thornton. We appreciate all of your support. We appreciate everyone who just watches the show. The fact that we've got like 500 people watching us right now. You remember when we were doing the show at the beginning, Alan, and there were like 20 people, and one of them was AJ Sifax, was one of the, from the very beginning. We've had people watching us from the beginning, and just want to know how much we appreciate all of you and our growing audience as we get closer to 100,000. A lot of things are going to happen. Star Trek Trial, Star Trek Critics Court is coming. A third live stream every week. But we need to get to 100K. And at the rate we're going, we're not going to make it before the end of the year. So if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe and convince all of your friends to subscribe.
Yeah. First of all, The Marvels comes out in November. And I think that'll be the movie that pushes us over.
We're going to do 79 videos about the Marvels.
We're gonna do a 7-day marathon of the Marvels.
We'll definitely be doing that. I'm looking forward.
By the way,
it.
Shout out to the 61 people watching us on Rumble.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, everyone on Rumble. Appreciate you. And now our more comments here. We're gonna go down and get to as many of these as we can. Any Tubular Bells? How's the soundtrack? Says RPZ Music. The soundtrack is a ripoff. It's a generic ripoff of the first movie.
Yeah. By the way, the famous famous score, it plays during the credits. Plays during the credits.
Yeah, but it's not impressive. Yeah. Stifax says, I've had the displeasure of experiencing this movie last night. One of the worst horror movies I've seen this year.
To me, it was just boring. I don't.
Yes, it was boring.
It was that, to me, that was its biggest crime. It was just boring.
Wow. CD Stein 69. I always love to say that. Saw it last night. Only thing I'll say is it pales in comparison to the original or Exorcist 3. Can't see how they'll continue this as a trilogy. Not good. By the way, I failed to mention during the review, this is the first of a new trilogy. The second movie comes out in a year.
Oh, no.
We're going to see Exorcist. I don't know what the second movie is called. It comes out in about a year.
Oh,
so there will be another one, just like they did with Halloween. They're doing the same thing.
Wait,
this was,
I mean, is Universal turning into Disney now?
Maybe what they're doing is they're saving the good stuff. This is just a terrible beginning, and it will get better.
Oh, yeah, that's a great strategy. That's a great strategy of building a franchise.
No,
start bad so that you build expectations.
Right. The second movie comes out in a year. Aaron Taylor, IndieWire, Ellen Burstyn agreed to star in the Exorcist sequel to fund scholarship program for actors. Well, that's weird. But I appreciate the philanthropic nature and the kindness and that kindness. So there you go. Wes Ray, do Southern Baptists even do exorcisms or recognize demon possession as a thing? Alan?
Some do. I would say the more Pentecostal end of things, they do. I know on my end, which tends to be the much more legalistic, dry end of the spectrum. I think the issue is that we tend to blame bad behavior on demon possession, and I think that's kind of where evangelicalism, especially the fundamentalist form of it, falls off the rails. Everyone can't be demon possessed. just because you don't like their behavior.
Eric O'Sullivan, Linda Blair in Roller Disco was hotter.
The only reason I saw that movie.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. God, those. Do you remember? Like, I had such a crush on Jodie Foster when I was a kid. I just
yeah.
And what's her name? From Bad News Bears.
Oh, Tatum O'Neal.
Tatum O'Neal. I had such a crush on her. Man, like when I started to like girls when I was a teenage boy, I had crushes on all of them.
Yeah.
It was great. What can I say? Olivia Newton-John in Grease. Oh my God. And there was a girl.
That's why I watched Xanadu.
There was a girl in my junior high who looked just like Olivia Newton-John, who I had such a crush on. We're Facebook friends, and she is still a very attractive woman. You know, married and whatever, but like, yeah, yeah.
Oh, what might have been?
When I was a kid. Oh, I was such a nerd, but I was such a nerd. Yvonne Craig in Batman. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wait, you got rid of my other comment. I didn't get to read it.
Oh, okay.
The other comment that you undid. There we go. We'll get to that.
That one? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. And now I lost my train of thought. Alan,
you're thinking about girls. You're thinking about girls that you had crushes on. The Olivia Newton-John.
Like, Olivia Newton-John, you know, Tatum O'Neal, Jodie Foster. So
PJ Souls.
PJ Souls later when she was in Stripes.
Oh yeah.
And she was in Stripes and of course the original Halloween. So there you go. AIA says the removal of the Catholicism proves they didn't understand the appeal. Reagan was an innocent who was truly a victim. He didn't call the evil. These girls do. Pass. AIA bingo. Thank you for your comment. John Manilang, Captain Catholicism, Iron Muslim, and Black Jesus saves the day. It did feel like that. Did you get that feeling? I'm going like, they couldn't just bring in one priest with gravitas, like a Max von Sydow, right? Like, I love Max von Sydow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's passed away. And he's, you know, I mean, they used him in The Force Awakens in a complete throwaway role that makes no sense. We don't even find out who his character is. But the idea that they brought in 3 okay actors to kind of play like the Avengers of Exorcism. The Avengers of Faith. The Avengers. It was stupid. It was really dumb. Jagar.
The part where you mentioned where they bring out every religious talisman they could possibly find.
Right.
Again, just verifies that they don't know their religion much at all.
Should I see this or Saw X? 100% Saw X. Saw X is very good. I actually think Alan would like Saw X. And Saw X is genuinely scary, pays off. The first act of the movie is tragic. It's the best performance by Tobin Bell. We did a review on the channel last week. You can look up the review. I really love the film. And everyone I know who's seen it is surprised because the Saw movies kind of went off the rails. It got ridiculous kind of in the middle. And this is the best Saw movie since the first one. And there is emotional weight and stakes. And you really feel like the people were the bad things happening to people. They deserve it. They deserve it because they spent the screen time getting to know more about Tobin Bell. So, and it's chronologically takes place between 2 and 3. I really loved Saw X. 100% go see Saw X, still in theaters. So thank you, Jagar, for your comment. Super chat here from Nicholas Vargo for $9.99. Morning, Chris and Alan. Saw the new Exorcist at a critic screening on Tuesday and was disappointed even with my low expectations. I felt exactly the same. Everyone needs to avoid it at all costs and watch anything else. Thank you, Nicholas, for confirming my suspicions. And
so Royal Hotel, that's what we're all going to see this weekend.
Well, in terms of movies opening this weekend, I mean, it's weak. Sons and Shadows has been a member for 2 months and says DGG diplomatic immunity rigs just been revoked. What's that mean? Diplomatic immunity rigs like from the Lethal Weapon movies?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
DGG. Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't know, but thank you for being a member, Sons and Shadows. You could, I don't know, explain it in another chat. Bush and Ryu Cat says, Stephen King, Wes Craven, John Carpenter, who's your favorite action horror director? I'm going to go, well, Stephen King's not a director, but I'm going to go John Carpenter because he has made movies that are completely different. I mean, I like Wes Craven, but John Carpenter, you know, the original 1978 Halloween, amazing. Okay. The Thing, one of the scariest horror films of all time. It was the last time I was 16 years old when I saw The Thing, and I went home. I saw it by myself, and I slept with the light on. It was the last time I used to, if I saw a scary movie when I was a kid, I mean, a little kid, like certain episodes of The Twilight Zone, like terrified me, like To Serve Man, it's a cookbook. I slept with the light on. I was so scared. Jaws, I slept with the light on. And after I saw John Carpenter's The Thing, I was 16 years old and slept with the light on. They Live. John Carpenter is of action horror, the best of them all. Bush and Ryu Cat. Jimmy V. Or do you have an opinion on that, Alan?
Not really. Wes Craven and John Carpenter, probably the ones I've seen most. I just think it's cool that John Carpenter came up through Full Moon Features.
Yes.
He worked for Charles Band for a while.
A lot of directors, I mean, James Cameron came through Roger Corman, New World Pictures, doing things like Piranha 2 and what's the one, Battle Beyond the Stars. He did the effects for that. He didn't direct it. But, you know, yeah, but thank you, Bush and Ryu Cat. Spade 2187 for 499. Can you recommend the Thrawn series in order? Much respect to you guys. Well, the only thing I would say is Heir to the Empire. That's all I've read. That trilogy. And I really love that trilogy. They should have based the Star Wars sequels on something like that and used at least ideas from it for the Star Wars sequels, had it star Han, Luke, and Leia, introduced a new generation of characters from the Star Wars universe. So they made 7, 8, and 9 featuring Han, Luke, and Leia. They should have made it in the early 2000s when the three of them were younger. Then they could have made episodes 10, 11, 12 with all new characters that were introduced in 7, 8, and 9. You would have had 12 chapters of the Star Wars films. Now it is completely off the rails. It is a broken brand, and Disney took a brand worth in the billions and have devolved it into the garbage that, you know, that we see now. Are you talking
Star Wars or Marvel?
I'm talking about Star Wars. Marvel's
the exact same thing to Marvel.
Well, they did the exact same thing to Marvel, but I think it's the corporate culture that's at Disney. Corporate culture at Disney. You can sort of put it off for a little bit, but eventually it gets absorbed. And Star Wars and Marvel are girl brands now. They're girl brands.
That's just it. Business and creativity are not partners.
Right. We've got a couple more films to review today, but we're going to get through your chat comments and questions. We did that one from Rumble. Aid Ellis 24 says, considering Gordon Green's Southern evangelical background, see The Righteous Gemstones, I'm disappointed this was one of the parts of the film he flubbed. Yeah, he definitely flubbed it. Mm-hmm. A super chat here from Eric O'Sullivan for 5. No joke. I feel Ahsoka was an examination and celebration of the female gaze. She ponders, she judges, she communicates, that kind of thing. Thoughts? Well, I mean, I'll tell you how she communicates. 1-800-STAR-WAR. Can I help you?
Oh, sorry. I thought this was a video you played.
No, it's just a graphic. That's a meme that's going around. You know, 1-800-STAR-WAR. Can I help you? That's she communicates. So there you go, Eric. Yeah. It's a meme for exactly how you're feeling.
Yeah, I posted something on Twitter yesterday, basically saying that through Attack of the Clones, we realized George Lucas doesn't know how to date women, and in Ahsoka, we found out that Dave Filoni doesn't know how to make friends.
No, it's weird. It's weird. And I've met him. He's a perfectly nice guy, but he does seem a little on the spectrum. You know,
well, I mean,
weird.
it's just the fact that the emotional connection between characters is it's devoid. There's nothing there. You know, they're just people who, hey, Hera, hey, Ezra, I'm back. That's awesome. You know, that was essentially that final emotional scene between Hera and Ezra. You know, there's nothing there.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just think it's a dead franchise, and part of it is that the people that are in charge of it, obviously, we've talked about, you know, there's agenda behind it, but in addition, there's just people who don't have the kind of life experience that George Lucas had. George Lucas almost died in high school. He almost died. He was wasting his life. He was hot rodding around. He wrapped a car around a tree and spent so much time in the hospital, nearly died. And then he got serious about his life and changed everything. And I don't know that the people that are currently the shepherds of the Star Wars franchise understand Star Wars. They are people who work in a corporate environment, and they may as well be working on any other brand. It's a brand. It's not to me a mission or a reason to tell a story to inspire people. And that's what George Lucas originally wanted to do. Read The Secret History of Star Wars. And by read it, get the audiobook. You'll understand what I'm talking about. And knowing that Secret History of Star Wars, when I think about that, like this is why Star Wars was so good. George Lucas had lived life. He had failures. He had bad things happen to him. He was in a very contentious relationship with his father. His father was like, just go into the family business. And George wanted to do something else. George was pondering and looking out at the two sons of Tatooine, looking at a different future for himself. And his father didn't believe in what he wanted to do originally. So yeah, more comments here. Another super chat. Chris, doing a horror movie every night during October. Recommendations to see during Halloween. Also, fave Cocteau Twins album. Mine is Treasure. We're going to get through some more of these comments here, so keep them. We got 2 films to review. A guest coming on. We'll go quick. Treasure is also one of my favorite. Heaven or Las Vegas is another good one. I've seen the Cocteau Twins live in concert in Los Angeles in the early 90s when I first moved here. Love the Cocteau Twins. As for, I would recommend John Carpenter's The Thing. I would recommend the original Night of the Living Dead. I would recommend the remake of Night of the Living Dead. They Live, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, the original, directed by George Romero. God, so many. We should do, later this month, we will do horror films. A few more chat comments and questions here. Thank you, Razorburn, for that. I disagree about Saw X because if you've been following the Saw franchise, you know the whole story by the time you get to Saw X. So it's nothing new or revelatory. It's just another side quest to nowhere, says Brock Samsonite. Well, because I ignored most of the other films in the series, it didn't bother me. Ryan Landis, it's ironic that a movie about demon possession is soulless. From Rumble, Alan was scared when he saw the price of gas on his way there. Yeah, it's $6 to $7 in California. It hints in parts, Alan, especially when the girls first appear. Also, the trash can discussion was a soft commentary on bigotry, says CD Stein 69. Ryan Landis, hashtag demons for diversity, and Ludwig Schwarzenwalder, Nun 2 is a creative film in comparison. I would agree with that. Any final remarks, Alan?
No. No, we got through it. Yeah. Like I said, seeing the trailers, I just knew it wasn't going to be scary. And so when you had me watch it, I'm like, I think I'll survive this one.
Right. All right. Time to pivot. Alan, you saw a film that I did not see.
Yes. Oh.
The film is called Foe. And at first, when you told me the title of the movie we were talking, you said, I'm thinking of seeing Foe. And I thought you meant PHO. Like a movie about food.
I'd be eating Foe.
So I thought, I kind of want to see Foe, PHO. But this is not about that. It's Foe as an FOE, and it's an indie film that you saw. I have not seen it. Alan, tell us
It's
about
actually
Foe.
Amazon. It's coming out on Amazon.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and it's based on a novel of the same title. It stars Saoirse Ronan and Paul Mescal. So let's set up the situation here. The planet is dying because of climate change. Things are getting real bad, so we need to build a colony in space. And so that's the setup. That's where we are at the beginning of the story. Now we head down to Earth. There's a remote farm out in the middle of nowhere where Hen, played by Saoirse Ronan, and Junior, played by Paul Mescal, are living as a couple. And in voiceover, Hen talks about how she's drifting from her husband, how the two no longer connect, how the love that they had early on has kind of disappeared, and so this is a relationship in trouble. And again, remember, there's climate change is destroying the world. So
Right.
one night, a car appears out of nowhere, and in that car is Terrence, played by Aaron Pierre, and he works for the marketing brand of the government. And he notifies Junior that he won a random lottery, and that he is going to be one of the first people to colonize space. But only Junior can go, and Hen has to stay behind and take care of the farm. Of course, Hen has bigger goals. She doesn't want to live on the farm. She wants, better life. But also remember, there's climate change and the world's dying. And then, so a year from then, Terrence is going to come back, and he's going to begin training Junior. And so during that year, knowing that he's going to go away, Hen and Junior kind of rekindle their relationship. They're able to reignite their love for each other. And then when Terrence comes back, the training begins, and Terrence has to observe Junior and there's several reasons. One, training for space, but two, they've created technology that allows they don't call it cloning, but in a way it is, where they can create a clone of Junior, and that clone will stay behind and take care of Ken. But Terrence needs to observe Junior's behavior and to make sure that, to kind of know how to program the clone. And so the movie turns into this thriller, kind of sci-fi thriller, as we're questioning Terrence's motives. Maybe he's hitting on Hen. There's a lot of the training period involves a lot of what I would call psychological torture. This is the inherent problem of this movie. It's just everything everywhere all at once. It's a environmental disaster. It's a government taking over and conscripting people into servitude, calling it space exploration. But deep down, it's about a couple that has been drifting apart after being married for so long, and that's this movie.
Well, that's the backdrop to the sci-fi story. But does this sound like something like your initial description was like, all right, what climate change disaster? I get it, but does this sound like something that I would like, and do you recommend it?
I would not recommend it. I don't think you'd like it. There is sci-fi elements at it, but that's the problem. Is the movie is an environmental disaster. The movie is a sci-fi cloning thing. The movie is a space colonization, and the movie is about a couple who's been drifting apart over the years, and the whole movie takes place on that farm. So it's not like they go places. It's
so it's like
one
it's
location.
this. You're just really told in the beginning it's a sci-fi world, but it's not that sci-fi.
Yeah. Oh no, the ending, the third act becomes very sci-fi, and it has a very sci-fi ending, a very Twilight Zone kind of ending to it. But there's a lot you have to get through to get to that point, and and the ending clever, but it's not like groundbreaking. And this is look, this is based on a novel, and I feel like when you read the novel, I've never read the novel, but I feel like that the writer director Garth Davis, he read the novel, thought it was a really good idea to make it a movie, and then realized when he made the movie it wasn't a good idea. So I think the novel will read better than the movie does.
Gotcha. Let's look at
actually there's one more thing that I haven't mentioned. So Garth Davis, the director, I think he's a breast man, and I'll tell you why. The movie opens with Saoirse Ronan. Okay, first of all, there are no bras in the future. The movie opens up, and Saoirse Ronan is wearing this top that it's not see through, but it kind of accentuates her breasts. So you get a sense of her form, the size, things like that. And the thing the reason I mentioned is because there's a progression of the clothes she wears from beginning to end that just kind of draws attention to her breasts, her chest, and so the clothes just kind of they focus on certain parts, and and so literally this happens throughout the entire movie, and then she's naked at the end. So the reason I mention it is because A, I'm not a creep, but B, this idea of what she's wearing and how it kind of draws the eye to her chest. It seems intentional for some reason. It seems artistic, and it's just like there's, to me this was my through line of the movie, and it pays off at the end. But other than that, the story is just really bad. I mentioned because it's just
the whole time you're talking about Saoirse Ronan's boobs, I'm looking for the boob video, and I realized we deleted it.
We deleted
a boob, just one. Like, we should just post that as a short.
But it's like it teases throughout the first two acts, and then you get the payoff at the end.
All right, let's go to comments here. So you don't recommend?
I don't recommend it, no.
Okay,
unless you're a breast man.
Bush and Ryu Cat for Two, is Psycho the first slasher horror movie? I don't know historically if it is, but it's the first successful one. Let's just say that because it's so widely known. Aaron Taylor, climate change equals perpetual boogeyman. The torturous policies haven't done a damn thing. Could have at least invested in natural disaster response and sustainable infrastructure. Aaron, couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Ken Bogus says people are destroying the earth, so take those same people and put them on a space station that will likely destroy too. Good thinking. Brock Samsonite, is this a direct to Amazon Prime movie?
I believe it's going to be in select theaters, and then I'll go to Amazon Prime.
Joseph says Foe is at 18% on Rotten Tomatoes now. And as an OG tree hugger, the green lie and climate change fear porn disgust me, says Imperfect. I agree. I think it's gone so far. I think this agenda has gone so far as to paint a picture in the heads of young people today that they have no future, and it's contributed to depression and sort of an aimlessness in terms of purpose when it comes to young people, because what's the point? The world's going to be destroyed by the time I grow up anyways. What's the point? We have destroyed a generation of young people by planting a seed in their head that nothing matters, because no matter what we do, they're going to meet an end due to climate change. It's disgusting, and I don't believe it. I believe climate change is real, but I believe it's around the seasons, and it happens at such a slow pace. And we are arrogant as man to think that we could have a cataclysmic effect on our planet. Certainly when it comes to nuclear weapons, that is true. But I think this is all fear porn. And thank you. That's my personal opinion. Make of it what you will and come to your own conclusions. Jeremiah M., it sounds like a chick flick disguised as a sci-fi action film.
Yeah. The elements are there. I think definitely there's something there for men and women, and they will find different things to like about the movie or to get out of the movie.
Davina Duckworth says Alan got Chris's interest suddenly. Well, there you are. And goes on to say, learned helplessness makes people dependent. Yes. Yes, that is such a good, I love that.
But the thing is, at least we have a good government that is protecting us. So there's always an upside to it.
By the way, that never lies to us.
I know.
Did you know that?
And I hope I'm gonna welcome the day that they come to my house and take away my gas stove and my gas water heater.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. So there you go. I'm debating which one to use here. All right.
Yeah, that one.
A final film that we're going to review before our special guest joins us today. It is She Came to Me, starring Anne Hathaway, Peter Dinklage. They are a married couple. She is on her second marriage. So she has a young son from her first marriage. The son from the first marriage is involved with another young woman who also has parents that are in their second marriages. So I think this is part of the reason that Teresa and Julian Bond, played by Harlow, Olivia Calliope Jane, and Evan Ellison, they're a young couple. They're in love. They're having sex. He's 18. She's underage. She's not quite 18 yet, which is alarming. But that subplot comes into play later. Stephen, played by Peter Dinklage, is a person who writes operas. He is going through a little bit of writer's block. He cannot figure out this opera. So his wife, Patricia, played by Anne Hathaway, who's also a therapist, says, Stephen, go out, walk the dog, just go for a walk. So Peter Dinklage, as Stephen, goes out for a walk with his dog, little French bulldog. They go to like this dive bar, has a drink, and meets a lady played by Marissa Tomei. Marissa Tomei actually her character's name is Katrina, and she is a tugboat captain. And she is addicted to romance. And technically speaking, you read into it, she is addicted to sex. She convinces Stephen to come back to her tugboat, and she comes out wearing lingerie and a sexy outfit. She seduces Stephen, and they have sex. Stephen cheats on his wife. Cut to 6 months later, Stephen has written this opera that is being praised. There's opening night, and the opera is about a tugboat captain woman with sex addiction / romance addiction that seduces men, kills them, and eats them. Katrina actually ends up going to it and realizes Stephen must be my muse. She's completely obsessed with Stephen now. Stephen had this one dalliance with her, but he's married. And it is a drama that I would describe as something like a 90s indie film about rich white people that you would have seen at Sundance like in the 90s. Because I saw movies like this, and it's just a bunch of little dramas. Anne Hathaway's character, she's sort of aspiring to be a nun. She freaks out when she finds out that Stephen has cheated. The young couple, the teenagers, the only way to kind of solve it and keep the boyfriend from being accused of statutory rape, they have to get married. So it ends up being this whole plot to like rush to another state to get married. And I'm sitting here thinking, who is this movie for? It's basically for just rich white people with rich white people problems. You know, I can't write my opera. You know, I just like, she's a therapist that has like a home office that is like a separate little adjunct to their huge house. These are the kinds of indie movies that Sundance used to champion in the 90s, that if they played at Sundance now, they'd be completely criticized as like, oh my God, some of those criticisms are valid, because I remember seeing movies like this in the 90s at Sundance in the early 2000s, where I'm like, who is this movie for? It's a rich filmmaker, a trust fund kid, got a bunch of money and went to make a movie about people they knew. Because it's all like the problems are divorce and this and whatever. And, you know, they aren't actual real struggles. But Marissa Tomei's character is this blue collar woman, which I totally don't buy her as that character. I do not buy her. Now, in spite of like what I'm saying to you, I kind of enjoyed the movie because it's so weird and quirky. Like, it's just weird. Like it's more of a comedy than a drama. And I also personally love Peter Dinklage. Next week Next week, I'm going to a screening of The Toxic Avenger. We might talk
What?
about it on Wednesday.
How do I
It's
get into
the-
the screening?
I'll tell you exactly how. It's the Regal Mystery Movie on Monday.
Oh, okay.
The Regal
All right.
Mystery Movie on Monday
I'm
is
there.
the Peter Dinklage Toxic Avenger. I'm seeing it on Monday. Alan, you and I we'll talk about it next Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll see it.
But I really like Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage to me kept me going for Game of Thrones. When it got really complicated, though, I'm like, there's too many characters. I mean, I eventually figured it out. But Peter Dinklage as Tyrion, I always loved him. And I really like him in this. He's very relatable. He's also very handsome, right? So you actually buy the fact that he could bag these tall
Hot women.
ladies, tall, attractive women. You get it because he has this intellect and he's a very attractive man, whatever. But this movie just left me going like, why do I like this is ridiculous. Fortunately, it's an hour 42 minutes. You're in, you're out. But I don't know that I can honestly recommend this movie. I can't recommend it just because it's so like it's a genre of movie they kind of don't even make anymore. It's a 6.2 on IMDb, 54% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I feel like, how did this movie slip through the cracks, right? Like, I mean, there's, and one of the characters, this guy who basically plays a court stenographer, but he's such an a-hole. But he's a Civil War reenactor, and he's such a jerk about it. And oh my God, he's just so annoying in this film.
Yeah,
but
I question the
Yeah.
economics of this. I mean, how do they expect this movie to make money? I
Because
can't
it
imagine that everyone took a massive pay cut to be in it. Maybe they did.
The director is a woman named Rebecca Miller. It's produced through Round Films and Killer Films.
Okay.
And my feeling is this is it doesn't need to make money because the people who made this movie have a lot of money, and the people who invested in the money in the film so they could go to the premiere. But it's distributed by this small company called Vertical, which we review a lot of their films, and it ain't an A24 movie, and there's a reason for that. It didn't rise to that level. So while I was mildly amused, and I really like Peter Dinklage, and the interplay between Stephen and Katrina's character, Peter Dinklage and Marissa Tomei, is genuinely funny. It's just not enough laughs for this. Like, it's drama, but like this weird tone for the comedy, and it just didn't really work for me. So I can't recommend the film. Let's go to your comments and questions here. B-Rad says tugboat. Yes, literally tugboat. Lord Thoth, tug in quotes, boat. Holy Fook says,
yeah, look what
tug.
you've unleashed.
I didn't mean it that way. Hey, Eric Stratton gifted 5 Film Threat memberships to those lucky folks who got the Film Threat memberships. Check it. You're going to see you got the Film Threat membership, and you will be, you'll see that there's, you can go to the community tab, join our Discord, get the link. Toxic Avenger, no, they will ruin it, says Lord Thoth. I'm hearing good things about it. We'll let you know next week. We're going to see it. You can see it. It's the Regal Mystery Movie on Monday. I've been to some of those Regal Mystery movies, and I see people like walk out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the nature of it. You don't know what movie you're seeing.
Right.
And it's a bad one, yeah.
Sons and Shadows gifted 5 Film Threat memberships. And Bush and Ryu Cat became a YouTube member. Well, thank you for that. Akanika says, sounds like something Woody Allen would have made. Oh my God, it is exactly a Woody Allen movie because all these hot women like the guy in the movie. And so his problems are, look at these women who like me. Well, how am I going to solve all my problems? I cheated on my wife, but it inspired this opera. It's ridiculous. It's definitely a Woody Allen movie or something Woody Allen would have done back in the day. It's all rich white people problems. And I know me saying this out loud sounds like, but having seen so many of those films, which you didn't have to sit through those. And I would go to Sundance and I'm like, whose trust fund funded this movie? what sons and daughters of the rich directed this movie that will now talk about how it was such a struggle to get this movie made, and these movies are aimless, they really don't mean a lot, and whatever. So Imperfect, just a few more comments. We have our special guest who's about to join us. I can't wait to talk about this film. Imperfect says, I can't stop thinking about tugboats. Well, that's weird. Rumble, from Rumble, $8.24. It's Macon Blair directing the new Toxic Avenger, so I have faith. I'm actually very interested in the new Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
So there you go. And isn't RM married to Dee Dee Lewis and daughter of Arthur Miller, says Enrico Palazzo. I don't know. Enrico Palazzo for 5. Thank you for that. Wait, Spidey Sensei, wait, he gets Anne Hathaway and Marissa Tomei, and Marissa's a nympho? What kind of fantasy is this?
Oh, it's a Woody Allen fantasy.
It's a Woody Allen movie, effectively. So there you go. But it's time for us to pivot. We have a very special guest joining us who's in our digital green room. Her digital green room. Her film. Wait, Alan, help me out here. Her film,
I'm helping you out. That's the problem.
Here she is, Nadine Crocker, the director of Desperation Road, is here. Thank you for joining us on the show today, Nadine.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
First of all, congratulations on the movie. I've been a big fan of Mel Gibson and his career. This is a gritty thriller. Tell us about Desperation Road and how you got involved in the film.
Yeah, Cassian Elways and I worked on my first film together. He was an executive producer, and he's who originally brought me the script. Him and Michael Farris-Smith had worked on a previous project together. And so Cassian brought me the script, and I, read it and fell in love and started my collaborative process with Michael Farris-Smith to really deep dive on the script and make sure to honor the book, but also what was really important to me as a filmmaker. And of course, like the first thing that I said is that we have to have Garrett Hedlund, and Cassian, fully supported that. And they had been longtime friends. So we got Garrett on the film, and then the rest is history. Next was Mel, which is like kind of bonkers to me still, that I get to work with a legend like him. And and things moved very quickly. It's like how that goes. You work in the shadows for like a year and a half, sometimes even longer. And then all of a sudden, like, you get the yes, and it just goes. And next thing I know, we're in Kentucky.
I didn't even recognize Garrett Hedlund in the movie. He's got a completely different look than how he traditionally looks in other films. So what were some of the, you're working with Mel Gibson, who's obviously a big part of the film. What was it like to work with these actors here? And you said you shot in Kentucky.
Yes, we shot in Kentucky.
Well, tell us about the casting, and then also what it's like to work in Kentucky on this film.
Yeah, the casting process was beautiful. We had an amazing casting director, Carrie Audino. Garrett was our first attachment, and he really did more for this character. This film was very near and dear to his heart, and he was honestly like one of my partners, and mine and Cassian's partners, in creating this film. He really got behind it 100%. And then Mel was originally suggested to us, and I obviously flipped for the opportunity. And he and I had he read the script and really connected with it. And then he watched my first film, Continue, which was really exciting. And he connected with my work, and then came a meeting, and hours later of conversation, he basically said, I'll see you in Kentucky, kid. And the rest was history. Everything started moving very quickly. And then, literally a week before production, we found Willa Fitzgerald, who is unbelievable in this movie, and Piper Braun, and just the entire cast. Their performances, I'm extremely proud of their work and what we did in 16 days in Kentucky. And yes, we were supposed to be filming in Mississippi, scouted the entire movie there. Me, my DP, and the writer went out there, and he was showing us the ropes. We were filming in the town that the book takes place in. And then budget, you know how that goes. So there was a big, there's a crew in Kentucky now in Louisville, and they're really trying to cultivate their film world there. And so casting had already done a project there. So we ended up moving the project to Kentucky. And I'm so glad we did, because it was a beautiful experience, but also our crew was incredible and everyone just worked so hard to make this film possible. I mean, you're given 16 days and you have a minor in every scene, 2 car crashes, a sexual assault, 20 storylines to like put into one film. It was ambitious. So I'm really proud of what we were able to do in such tight timing.
We have almost 500 people watching us live on YouTube. We have a lot of questions from our chat. Do you mind taking some questions from the chat?
Totally.
Let's do it. Jeremiah M says, love Mel. Tom Siebert says, Mel is an Oscar-winning director. Did he ever offer suggestions or constructive criticism, or does he just come in as a professional actor and mind his own space in that role?
He absolutely comes in as a professional actor and like minds his space in that role. That being said, I know that if I like would have been like, hey, give me advice, he totally would. He is the most giving, loving, hilarious person. You don't know how people are going to be or what their process is. And he just, from the second we met, was incredibly collaborative and asked amazing questions. And, it was honestly the funnest process finding these characters together. And and then when shit hits the fan and when a lot of people might be like, okay, things are getting stressful, which is always happens right before lunch when you're like, if I come back to this scene, we're going to be running behind. And I'd look over at him and he'd like give me a smile and a nod. And he was just the best, honestly.
More questions here. Let's see. From Fletcher Williams, the film has a distinct yellow and red hue. I do recommend checking out the trailer. Check out the trailer. Did you use a color correction program or just manually created it? What camera did you use?
We use the Alexa, and also my colorist is one of the top colorists in the world. She did Joker. She's doing Joker 2. Jill Bogdanowicz. She's done every Marvel film you've seen. So she is the mastermind behind that color. I am very big on sodium and cyan, and color is actually one of my favorite processes of filmmaking. So I'm always very passionate about that. And so we try and make sure in production to bring the colors that will help the color thrive. And then once she does her work on it, it's just kind of like, you can't even remember loving it before, because it just feels like a totally different film once they work their magic, honestly.
And not only that, I'll just to point out how important colorists are to films, having, made films myself. You can save a movie in the coloring. The movie Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, which they shot all at once, all 3 films, Peter Jackson, there's even a documentary just about how they colored the film and how it saved them. They could shoot in all different kinds of light circumstances and make it all work. It's an unappreciated, like a lot of positions on a film set or a film production. The colorist is critical.
Well, and I'll say too, is like people don't even know, like they just think it's the color they're seeing. But like when you watch a colorist work, Jill literally creates windows. So it's like, don't look at this. Don't look at this. I want your eye to immediately come to their face. I want you to immediately notice this thing that's important to us or the filmmaker. It's like they direct our eye and we don't even really know it until you're watching all of their little like things, that they do. And it's just so impressive.
We have a lot of questions here. Spaceman asked, was Mel Gibson receptive to working on a smaller indie film?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's how we're here.
Right.
He's not, I think he just cares about doing really cool stuff, and it has to have something within it that excites him. And I think he wants to know that the person who's making it cares, and the thing about me is I care about everything, probably a little too much. So, I think he could feel that passion. So if you're trying to work with Mel Gibson, just make sure that all that passion shines through and he resonates, because he's a creative, like, he knows what it is. He's like an Oscar-winning director. So, you know, he recognizes that passion and drive to be the best. And that's one of the things I said to him when I went. I was like, I want to be the best of the best. And like, I need you by my side, basically.
And we've been talking about horror films today because obviously it's October. Razorburn asks, Nadine, since you starred in Cabin Fever, have you ever considered directing a horror film?
That's so funny you say that because I actually love horror, and that's what attracts me so many times to like thrillers, because I try and bring those little like moments of my horror love to that. So I've actually talked to my team and been like, I want to eventually. It has to be the right one and it has to be the right concept. I want something like really high concept, but yes, eventually I think I will, just because I love horror so much. And it's really like, you know, my first film that I was like so proud of was Cabin Fever. So yeah, I think I will.
Brock Samsonite asks, also, was this film before, during, or after the pandemic? What was that like? Did filming have to change mid-production? We had a lot of indie filmmakers we talked to, like, this was shot during COVID and it does change things a bit. Did you have challenges like that?
Not on this film, thank God. The pandemic was already over, and actually the restrictions were being lightened through our production. And most of our stuff was outside. So yeah, it didn't have a big effect on Desperation Road, but man, I can feel that because my first one, COVID hit literally while we were creating it. So I'm like, I still have PTSD from that a little bit, and that's why Continue ended up taking some extra time. But yeah, no, Desperation Road was after the pandemic, and I was only there filming it last September. So it's also the quickest turnaround I feel like I've ever seen in film. I'm trying to not get used to that and remember that it will take a lot longer on most of my other films.
A question here from Shrek PMC, who's a member, says, I wonder how high is the anxiety level among directors at this level? I mean, you're working with, you know, Oscar winning actor Mel Gibson, Garrett Hedlund, so many talented people. In some ways that makes your job easier, but how do you deal with that kind of anxiety? And especially a film, 16 days is fast.
Yeah. Basically the anxiety level is like as high as you can possibly imagine it, like maybe step it up. No, I mean, really, yeah, it is. You know, my husband was literally just like posting and saying that he's like, she didn't eat, she didn't sleep. She worked like 22 hours a day. I was, you know, towards the end, we had a second camera. And so I was working both units because I deeply care, and I was like, I'm not missing a single moment of this. So I was working 2 units to finish it. Yeah. And like I said, we had such big stuff, car crashes, all of these huge things. And I had 16 days and like some of those like 2 hours to complete it, you know? So it's really hard when you have a very big vision and then you're kind of having to like shrink it down and find the path to where you still feel like you're honoring yourself and your vision and your story, and honoring everything else that's important to your actors, you know, it's like, and trying to give them the takes, you know, I want everyone to be happy. But I mean, like you'll see on the incredible scene of Mel and Garrett on the porch where they have this beautiful father and son moment. It's like, we got like one take, you know, it's like, there's nothing you can do when a scene is running, you know, 15 minutes to get from beginning to end. And then you only have so many hours in the day. So yeah, it was incredibly I was incredibly anxious and stressed, but that drive for your dreams, you know, it's like you feel it, but you get through it, if that makes any sense. And if you're out there like almost going into production, it's like you'll be okay, because that drive and that love for filmmaking is going to get you through. It always does.
I would imagine that the anxiety be around like not wanting to waste their time or not wanting to look unorganized?
Well, that's definitely like every day at lunch, like I wanted to like vomit, you know, because it truly, you know how it is. Like you've made films. So it's like everything, you're on this last scene, you have mill penalties if you go over. If you come back to that scene and you're not moving on to the next thing by then you're going to go overtime and you might not get that next scene or that next shot, the shots or coverage you need in that. So yeah, it's just like, I hate feeling as if I don't as I look unorganized because I am like an over preparer and I am organized, but it doesn't matter. There's never enough time or money or any of that. So you kind of have to get used to the feeling of, you know, not always getting to feel like you're shining, or like, you know, it's like Mel Gibson sitting here holding a catfish and I'm freaking like trying to get this shot set up because lunch is being called in 5 minutes. And you're just like, ah. And like I said, I'd look over to him and he's like, you know, every director feels this at lunch. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Mel. Like, thank you for saying that, you know, because he could have, anyone could have. I don't want to say him because he would never. He's such a great human being, like, and so giving. But they could be like, take this damn catfish. I'm done, you know? And he just was like holding it like, all right, I'm ready anytime. He's just the best.
Carlos Alfredo Lopez says, what was the most difficult point in production? Budget, schedule, challenges?
Schedule. Honestly, I was told and this isn't like someone pulling the rug. It was just, we had more days and budget and different things just got tricky, and flying crew in and all of the things. So my days just kept dwindling. And so I was on the flight when I found out that it had dropped to 16 days. I'm like, you waited till I couldn't jump out, huh?
Yeah.
So no, I'd say it was definitely the schedule that became really tricky, you know, especially when you plan something out for so long and you have all of these really cool ideas and you're like, okay, well, how do I still honor that in a shorter period of time, you know, and make sure that you're honoring also every storyline, because there's so many characters in this film.
Let's see. Another question here. Nadine has a background. This is from Rumble. Acting, including in her debut film. Was she tempted to find a small role for herself in this movie? Will she continue to act in her own work in the future?
Well, that's a great question. So most people don't know this because I didn't even really show my face, but I have a small cameo in this. I just am walking. I basically put myself in as an extra just to, like, you know, Hitchcock it of like, oh wait, the people who know me will be like, oh, that's Nadine. So yeah, I have that little cameo, and you know, truthfully, doing everything on continue and being in every single scene of that movie, it was actually like a huge relief to just get to be behind the camera on this one. But I've written and have several films that are about to go in production, but one of the, you know, it'll probably be a little later down the line since I have my next few already mapped out. But I did write one recently that I will lead in. So I think I'll still have little moments, and there will be projects where my heart's pulled back to acting, and, you know, it's my first passion. I love it. But yeah, so I guess we'll see.
Question here from the nerd far away. Hail Nadine. We've all been discussing horror movies in the chat today. It's October, and that's the discussion. So that's where I got the idea for my question. What scares you in real life? And then maybe mention, do you have any favorite horror films?
What scares me in real life? I'm gonna be real with you, ghosts and like demons and things like that. So like movies like The Conjuring, or oh my God, the movie I've never finished, but I think it's so good, is Sinister with Ethan Hawke. Like, there are so many that, like, I am actually a chicken shit. That is why I've always been so drawn to horror, because I always said, like, if I acted in something with a monster or something to be like running from that wasn't just like my flesh falling off, it would be the best performance you've ever seen, because I would actually be terrified, because it doesn't matter in my mind if, like, I know that that's an actor or someone following me. Like, my fight or flight will totally kick in. So, yeah, I love horror, and yeah, and definitely like ghost, demon, things like that terrify me. But what is my favorite horror film? You know what? I'm going to go old school. I'm going to tell you that the first horror film that scared the shit out of me was Jeepers Creepers, when he like made out with that head and like chewed the tongue out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the built like all the bodies on the walls and it was dripping on him. I remember as like a kid being in the theater and like, you know, thinking I was so cool in like junior high or whatever it was. And that movie messed me up. So I got to go old school to the first one that I was like, oh my God, that was terrifying.
And just a few more questions here. I know your time is limited. Solomon Thornton says, greetings, Madam Nadine. Any advice for beginning filmmakers?
Yeah, don't ever give up. Like, and I know that people say that, but it's true. I mean, truthfully, 5 years ago, I was serving tables. I have been pursuing this. I dropped out of high school when I was 16 and I moved here on my own at 16 years old. I've been pursuing it ever since. I'm this month I'm 35. So that's like a long time to pursue something and still have to serve tables and bust your ass to get there. And the truth is like there just can't be an end date. And if there's no end date and you just keep working your ass off, it will happen. You will find small wins along the way. It's really kind of like a waiting game, and you just have to believe it with utter and blind faith. Like, you might think I'm like foo-foo or whatever, but I have Post-its on every single one of the mirrors in my house. I have Post-its on my walls. I have a vision board. I have all of those things, on my mirror. It says, I am an Oscar-winning director. It's like, I believe it with every inch of me, and I look at it every day and I focus on it and I give my energy to it. And so if you believe it and you just make other people believe it too, that passion, it's contagious. So I would just say, know your projects inside and out and spread that passion, and don't be afraid to like admit how bad you want it. Because no matter how big the star, they can all remember that moment of when they wanted it more than anything. And I think one of the things that Mel and the entire team loved about me is like, there's nothing I wanted more. There's nothing that means more to me. I was willing to do anything and work my ass off. And they respect that.
Well, a positive affirmation, I believe, really works. Like, I keep a list of my goals in my wallet. It's like a little tiny piece of paper with tiny type, and it's all the things I want to do. And it works. And there's a bunch of things on my list that I can cross off. Just a few more questions here. One, super chat said, Nadine, I really enjoyed Desperation Road. When adapting from Michael Ferris Smith's novel, which themes or elements did you find essential to keep? How did you balance staying true to the book with the demands of cinema?
Honestly, it was a beautiful collaboration with Michael Ferris Smith. It was difficult because things that really work in a novel that you have like 200 or 300, 280 or 300 pages to do to tell your story. And then you have so much inner dialogue. It's a completely different beast than a film that needs to be quick moving, that needs to hook the audience in, and also needs to have hope in the end. So, like the book was very open-ended. I just felt like for a film, we needed to have a through line and we needed to have hope. And so there was just different things that were really important to me. I'm a mother. So the mother being an incredible mother and putting her child first, and this all being like the undercurrent of what drives her was really important to me. Larry's character, for instance, was just like a bad man to be a bad man in the book. And I felt like through reading him, I could kind of understand his struggles, and maybe we could shine a light on what it was that made him a bad man, which is grief, which is substance abuse, which is mental health battles. So, for me, it was just really important to have so many themes and elements. And as a director, I really only attach to projects that have a message or meaning or some way that I can, say something or help the world in some small way. All my films normally have aspects of charity, and, I'm very big on saying something with our films. So for me, this film had beautiful elements and themes and messages that I thought could help people, and and beautiful characters, but flawed, which is always really interesting and amazing to me because we are all flawed human beings. And I wanted people to see themselves in these characters, and, and if they're struggling or, broke or whatever it is, it's like, yeah, there's other people out there too. Like, one of the things that drove me the most is like when I had my son, I was a waitress and my husband was a bartender, and we were like struggling, so I could relate so much to the story of just not knowing how you're going to provide. And her line, not everybody has somebody. I know that's the truth for a lot of us out there. So, I just felt like it was a great opportunity. And if we kept our focus on those themes, then I knew that it would be a strong film and that the people would see the through line from the book to the film, even if there were differences. So I hope that people who love the book also love the film and realize that I really tried to honor both the book and the film in the process.
And to wrap up, where can people see the film? And actually, James Woolard says, will Desperation Road be getting a UK theatrical release.
It will.
So,
We have a lot of distribution worldwide. I mean, I just saw like in the Middle East, there's like so many theaters, and I know Italy, Germany, there's a lot of places. So, and I know the UK is. I just don't know the exact release because I don't. I'll have to find out. So it will be. And yeah, you can go and see it in theaters near you. It's limited theaters, so it might not be in your area, but it is on every streaming platform, Amazon, Apple, iTunes. You can rent it on demand. It's already on there. I just went and bought it to watch tonight.
So thank you, Nadine Crocker, for being on the show today. Congratulations. Thank you, not just for this film, but for Cabin Fever. It's a classic. It is a classic. So there you go. And congratulations also on your future projects. Appreciate it. And I hope you come back.
Thank you. I would love to come back. That'd be incredible. And thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye now. She was great. She was great. There you go. There you go.
I'm on it. It's a
you're ahead of the game.
Well-oiled machine here.
Yeah, you're practically ahead of the game. Well, that about wraps it up for us today. Alan, what do you got coming up this weekend?
Just we've got so many reviews on the site this week. So head over to filmthreat.com. We've got reviews, a lot of short films this week. And I'm hopefully going to finish off my Fantastic Fest recap over the weekend.
And Bush and Ryu Cat gifted 5 Film Threat memberships. So to the new members, sign up. There'll be a link to sign up for our Discord. Look at the tab that is the community tab. There's members only updates. We also do giveaways. So if you're a new member, make sure to check that community tab for giveaways and just chat with us on River. It's, we talked about a lot of stuff today. I also want to say thank you to our mods, Lord Thoth, Gridiron Masters, producer Glenn Brown, and Ms. P. Coffee. Ms. P. Coffee is a very generous person. She highlights almost every question that you ask, and then I ask about half or less.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, we have a weird Rumble rant. I think we need to.
Yeah, I saw that question. I'm not gonna.
Well, you're not gonna ask her, but at least we could.
I mean, look, it was just weird, and we were having a good conversation. I didn't want to break it up.
Okay,
but there you go. We will be back next Wednesday. We're going to talk about the Toxic Avenger movie. We're going to talk about Loki season 2. What else are we talking about? A whole bunch.
Are we
of
talking
stuff.
about Loki season 2? I thought we were holding off. Till
oh, that's right. Maybe we will hold off.
Yeah.
Maybe
what are we going to talk about, really?
We are going to talk about the Amy the Visitor, the first AI created femme fatale in film history, and a review of Amber Heard's movie In the Fire. In addition to Gen V, which is on Amazon Prime, a lot of stuff going on. Plus a filmmaker interview, but no, are we going to do Legacy of Monsters Monarch? We're talking a week from today, not on Wednesday's show. Just show up for the live streams. It's always fun. It's fun. So there you go. And this weekend, I'm going to be going to Oktoberfest. I think it's in La Crescenta area. I'll be doing Oktoberfest. And a week from today, I'm going to Son of Monster Palooza. So much stuff going on. LA Comic-Con, a lot of great stuff, and big movies coming up very soon. Tickets for the Marvels go on sale Tuesday. I spoke to someone who's seen it. I can't tell you what they said, but I cannot. It's the show. One thing I can reveal to you, because this has been out there. It is the shortest Marvel movie ever. It is like an hour and 40 minutes.
Hour 45.
Hour 45. That's with credits. That's short for a Marvel movie. No idea why. It is what it is. And Ryan Landis says, Chris, so much here it is. Chris, so much traveling. What about the environment? The environment's going to be fine. This is the thing. We are so arrogant as species, civilization, whatever you want to call it, that we think that we can destroy this earth. We can certainly make things worse for ourselves, but yeah, I don't think we can destroy it. And life existed years ago in different forms before us and will after. We'll see. So there you go. But thank you, Ms. P. Coffee, for all the hard work. You have no idea how hard she works. And there you go. So awesome. All right. Alan, anything else?
No, that's it. I'm relaxing this weekend. What?
Big news. Next week, tickets are going to go on sale for Award This. They will sell out in the big room. We have an overflow room. We're going to do two types of tickets. There's going to be a tier that is cheap. You can just go. And then a tier that is a little bit more expensive. You get to be in the big room. There's a gift bags. It's a party. Alan and I will be there. You get drinks also as part of your premium price ticket. Comedian hosting. It's going to be a blast. Cannot wait. Award This Sunday, December 10th is when it takes place. It's a party that lasts. There's a step and repeat. It's like basically all the experiences if you go to a major award show. A step and repeat. Photos. There's a cocktail party with appetizers. There's an after party. There's the show itself. I mean, it'll go from 5 till probably 11 at night. So if you include the party. So I think the show starts actually technically at 8 p.m. And the show's it's under 2 hours. And then we're going to have a little after party. So Sunday, December 10th, I will share the link when tickets go on sale next week. Alan and I will both be there.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Alan?
I look forward to it every year, even if it's in December this year.
You look forward. Dude. Yeah, we gotta talk about it. All right, Alan.
We'll talk. I've got most of my thing done. So
all right, Alan.
let's get out of here.